Good afternoon. All right, it's an awesome day. Good afternoon. Hope you all are doing well today. Um, so we have something important that we'll be sharing today. I think I've sent a lot of notifications to a lot of people, and today we're going to be talking extensive property matters live session. And okay, so we're starting very quickly. In case you are seeing this video for the first time, do well to subscribe, share, and give us a thumbs like. And of course, let me also know the audio situation. If you can hear me, please do well to let me know. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right. So on today's episode, I said I'm going to be talking extensively about how to protect your rental properties from bad clients, and it's something that, in case you're coming across this, you can also help us share this video. Um, you can help us share this video, and let's get started. Um, Starting way beyond below schedule, but we understand. We apologize for that anyway. And very quickly, I'm also going to be joining our live session very quickly. So I want to start by saying a very big thank you to everybody that has been joining us. For those that have been asking questions, I want to say a very big thank you to you as well. And I also want to quickly seize this opportunity to um, tell you that we are a real estate consultancy firm here in Lagos, Nigeria, and we help you to do safe, reliable, and of course good real estate investment in Lagos, Nigeria. So you can also give us a trial, and I can assure you that you are not going to um, regret this. All right, thank you very much. Apologies for that. I'm shooting this video from the house, so I want to apologize for this. So let's just quickly go to the main points. Now, recently, I have received a lot of distress call from diaspora, and more importantly, those who have rental properties in Lagos. And one thing I have come to realize basically is due to the fact that a lot of people are having different challenges. And one of the things that have actually prompted this video is due to the fact that I have come to realize that a lot of people have issues, okay, with their rental properties. There have been instances of tenants not keeping to their own side of the bargain by paying their rent as at when due. And there have also been cases of a situation whereby most of these houses, rental properties, are poorly managed. Some are damaged beyond repair, and this obviously has become a major concern. And I have, in fact, presently right now we're on the verge of selling a diasporan rental properties, and one of the reasons why the man wants to sell basically is that he has a property in his hometown, and if I mention his hometown, many people will get to know. And according to him, his tenant has messed up that place and is doing all he can, okay, to sell that property so that he can have, and of course enjoy peace of mind. And I also got to discover that this is now becoming a repeated circle of complaints from diasporan investors. And I also saw a video of a social media influencer in the person of Mazititi. Is a Nigerian based in the diaspora, and he's also cited, a similar situations like that. And this obviously has now become a major stumbling blocks and a major discouragement, okay, for people who are in the diaspora, and they've been having challenges, okay, in buying or renting out their properties. So on today's episode, I'm going to quickly just list out three important things you should do if you don't want your house to be mismanaged, or if you don't want um, your tenants to damage your properties. And every of these points that I'll be outlining, it is applicable to probably someone who is just getting into the rental properties. Okay, so I'm going to be applying some of these things. I have a lot of well, a lot of people knows that I'm majorly into property acquisition, whether it is land, acres, plots, houses, any of typologies. But many people don't know that I'm also into property management. So I've been doing this for quite some time, and this is how I've been managing some of my investors' properties that are in my um, that are under my care. And let's just quickly talk about this. Now, if you have, I'll be giving different ideologies and different case studies of what you can do. Now, the first thing you want to do basically is that if you own a house, let's say for instance you have like maybe 4 units of two-bedroom apartments, that obviously is a big project, is a big house. And when you're doing such, there are three important things you need to do. Now, the first thing you want to do basically is that you need to put your rental properties under the management of a legal advisor. A legal advisor. Now, the reason why I said you should allow a lawyer to manage your rental properties is due to the following reasons. Now, people have this general ideology, they have this notion, they have this mindset that for the fact that you are not in the country, maybe you are outside the country, you are rich basically, and you should not. Many of them have this mindset that you don't have any pressing need or desire for your money. Now, I'm going to give instance of a law firm I know very well that is well esteemed, which is the GJ Taiwo law firm. And the reason why I'm making reference to them basically is that I've seen this law firm manage properties even on behalf of their clients. And the reason why I'm saying this basically is that if a lawyer, or if you have lawyers that are in charge of your property, now the lawyers will be in charge of um, tenancy, like how they get tenants into the house. They will provide a form whereby they collect the details, and inside that form there are different instances whereby in all these new houses a tenant is required, okay, to bring 2 or 3 guarantors in the case of unforeseen circumstances. I've also seen instances that whenever it comes to annual remittance of rent, okay, the law firm will be the one to do the rent collection, and if there's any case of increment, the law firm also writes to them to inform the tenant so that there will not be cases. And if there's a case of ejection in the places whereby a tenant is defaulting on his annual rent, the law firm will be the one to write the responsible or the required quit notices. And so I've had instances of people who have not even for once stepped their foot into their house, and their houses are properly managed. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is that if you have multiple units of apartment, I would advise that you put it in charge of a reputable law firm or a reputable legal counsels who will manage that property on your behalf. So you don't need to worry about whether there is regular payment or not, or whether there is refusal of a stubborn tenant or something. So the law firm will definitely help you, okay, handle that. Now, the reason why a lot of people don't want, to put lawyers in charge of their properties is due to the fact that I've had several instances of people saying that their terms or their services are very, very expensive. Well, I'll say basically that if you want an effective management of your property from the legal perspective, then you need to put a law firm to manage all your property. So they are going to be in charge of rent collection, tenant ejection, quick notices, and if there is a need, okay, for increase in the rent, the law firm also do that. So that's the first and important thing you want to do. So if you have a reputable law firm, okay, I cited the case of GD Taiwo. I have seen multiple properties that is in charge, that they are in charge, and they are doing amazingly well, in getting some of these things um, well done, properly managed, and there are no issues whatever. Now, the next thing you also want to do basically to avoid cases of damages is that now if you own multiple units, okay, this actually will work perfectly, for landlords who have multiple units. Then I would also advise basically that you hire a facility management company. Now, what the facility management company does basically is that they will be in charge, okay, of annual or regular um, maintenance of your house. So if there's a case of, let's say, a damaged roof, or there are cases of leaking pipes or anything, so what the facility management company does is that they will, okay, keep record of these things. They will run the maintenance on your behalf. Now, the only thing you will now do basically is that under your tenancy agreement, there will be a situation or a scenario where it is clearly stated who is going to manage repairs. Okay, repairs. So there are instances of your tenancy whereby you will, okay, state if you, the landlord, will be the one to manage or measure the repairs, or it will be shared between the landlord and the tenant, of course. So the legal team will do that. But the reason why you need, like most of these estates on the island, I've seen instances whereby whenever there is a damage, okay, they don't even need to inform the tenant or everything. The only thing they just need to do is the facility management company are always on ground. Okay, so they look at the damaged place, they keep records of it, they inform the house owner, they do the repair, and they can share the cost. So I would say basically you also employ the services of facility management company, and this is mostly advised, okay, for people who own multiple units. Like for instance, I have a client that owns properties. um, the man has a property in Abuja. He has, I think, somewhere in Port Harcourt. He also has numerous in Lagos and Ibadan. And he was giving instance of a troublesome tenant that he owned, that rented one of his two-bedroom bungalow in Abuja. And I said in Abuja, in Ibadan. And for the past 6 years, the man has not been faithful to his annual rent, and he was asking for request, for an advice of what he was supposed to do. I just told him, get a lawyer, change the tenant, and do so. These are some of the things you also want to put into consideration if you want to avoid the cases of having problematic tenant. And another thing you should also do basically is that if you don't have the energy and the stress for all these situations, you should invest majorly in service apartments. Now, the reason why you should invest majorly in service apartment basically is that now there are some real estate development companies on the island that will handle your rent, they will handle your maintenance, they will handle the electrification, they will handle the water, and of course, um, if there are cases for repairs or damage fittings, or any part of the house needs urgent renovation, they will do it. So now the advantage basically is that the reason why I always recommend serviced properties is due to the fact that the developer is not building, okay, to live, is building to ensure that the house standard and the facilities in that house are properly managed. And this is why I, as an individual, I love service apartment a lot, because it gives me that assurance, and basically, so they do it. So if you can invest more in service, now a lot of people have said service apartment comes with an extra cost. One thing I think you need to understand basically is that if you're buying properties in Lagos, you need to look beyond that purchase, because you see what majority of real estate investors, what they are doing subsequently, is due to the fact that majority of them don't understand that there is life even after purchase. A lot of properties today are in a dilapidated state, and the reason for that basically is due to the fact that these properties are poorly managed by real estate, by tenants. And one of the advantage of a service apartment basically is that the service apartment ensure that the standard and the condition of the house, okay, are properly managed. So in a situation whereby you don't want to handle the rent, you don't want to handle the case of repairs, you don't want to handle a case of, okay, where you have to do a forceful ejection, all you have to do basically is just invest majorly in service apartments, and the rest will be done. Although I should also inform you that investing in a service apartment comes at a cost, but if you should look at the benefits and of course the sustainability of your house, you will see that it is worth every penny. Because I have been in different houses. I witnessed one basically, and when they told me that it was human beings that were residing in that place, I found it extremely difficult to believe. I found it extremely difficult to believe, because these things are, they are very, very unbelievable. The house is more or less like a dungeon, like how do I say it now? Like a refuge dump. It was a self-contained house somewhere in the Abramade Sonya. And trust me, I know if the owner of that property sees it, I'm sure the man would not be happy, and he might be forced, okay, to sell it. So, but the advantage service apartment gives you basically is that service apartment gives you that additional information, of that additional, it takes that stress off you, okay. So the developer, and one of the reasons why I've always said that when you're buying properties, you should prioritize those who are going to, if prioritize service, is due to the fact that service apartments have been able, okay, to maintain the originality and of course the standard of the house. I've seen houses that are self-serviced, and trust me, houses that are self-serviced always depreciate faster in value. And this is due to the fact that a neighbor may decide to put his generator, and the generator is disturbing the next person, and a situation whereby the neighbor wants to complain, you obviously can't, because both of you are house owners there, and there's a limit. But in a service apartment, all those things are properly managed. So you invest more in service apartments, if you don't want to have issues of bad tenants or damaged property. Then another thing you should also do basically, if you don't want to have cases, okay, um of bad tenants, is that you should invest more in short-let apartments. Now, a lot of people are still finding it extremely difficult to believe and also understand that the new face of the Lagos rental market right now is short-let. And I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Whether many people choose to accept this fact or this reality, it still remains very, very certain and true that the future of Lagos property is short-let. And I have seen instances now. If you have been in some prime locations, like the Abram Adesoya, the Songotedo, the Apijo axis, um, real estate investors who have diasporal exposure, many of them, I can assure you that they don't have the intention of doing annual rents. More importantly, they are based in the diaspora. Now, when you talk about shortlet, there are two types of shortlet management. Okay, we have the self-managed shortlet and the private management. Now, the self-managed shortlet is the one that you want to do it by yourself. Like for instance, you have a trusted shortlet manager who will help you, okay, manage your property, take guest bookings, manage, do the maintenance of the property and the likes, okay. And there's in remittance, whether it is on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or annual basis. So, and you will understand that because of the fact that it's a short stay, you have control of some of the way your house and your property is being used. Now, one of the advantage that the shortlet has basically is that apart from the fact that it's a short stay, people whose shortlets are properly managed enjoy high rental capital appreciation. What do I mean by that? Now, I remember when we started selling a project in the Surulere and the Yaba axis, there was a particular time that a client of mine got a studio apartment in the Surulere axis um, at at pre-launch for 25 million, and before the completion of that particular project, the property appreciated to 45 million. And as I'm talking to you right now, this particular investor of mine earns 350,000 monthly, and she's happy. Honestly, she's very very happy that she bought. And when you look at that, you notice that for you to even earn that amount of money on you can't earn that monthly in some places in Lagos. And this obviously is one of the advantage of shortlet. So now, if you understand the rudiment, if you understand the way it through which shortlets are being managed in Lagos, Nigeria, you can choose to go into shortlet all by yourself. Okay, so if that's what you want, that option is available. But the one I prefer, okay, is private management. And the reason why I prefer the private management is that it has a lot of advantages. Now, the advantages are very, very numerous, and I'm going to be applying some of them. Now, when you are going into private shortlet management, that means you are buying the apartment and you're allowing the developers, to manage it on your behalf. And I have seen several times that um, this system right now is becoming a norm. More importantly, you are investing in some part of the island and of course larger part of the Lagos mainland. And now the case of this particular investor I was talking about, basically she bought with a private developer. So the developer is managing, so she's not even doing anything. All she does basically is to earn monthly, and trust me, it's a dream opportunity, and I'm sure that she will be looking forward to other shortlet opportunities. So if you don't want to have cases of damages, cases of wicked or bad tenants, you should have in your real estate portfolio, you should have more shortlet apartments because it's of the fact that it's a short stay, you have control over what happens in your property. That's just one of the things. You have control in the cases where you notice a damage, because of the fact that you have control and the house is closely monitored, you can call the attention of whosoever is in the house. And of course, the way they also do the shortlet thing basically is that I don't know if this is applicable in other shortlet, but you pay a caution fee before you move in. So if you are renting a short, let's say for instance, you are renting a shortlet in the Surulere axis, I think one bed present right now is 50,000. You will be mandated to pay a caution fee. Now, the caution fee basically is now based on the fact that in case there is a damage of anything, your caution fee, okay, covers that. So I do a lot of real estate developers a lot of shortlet managers who always mandate the payment of caution fee, and to an extent, I think it will guide the usage of facilities, because you see some people are naturally destructive. Some people just don't like progress. I've seen instances whereby a tenant has been defaulting for years, and the landlord has done everything within his power to eject this tenant after going to court. And to cut the long story short, the landlord was able to get a court order to eject this particular tenant. Can you believe that when this man was going, he removed and damaged some things, in the property? Assuming the landlord actually went through a legal phase of getting a tenant, or there are places where he has to pay some amount of money as, let's say, as caution. In that kind of situation where there's a damage in that house, even if they cannot find the tenant that left the house, the guarantor will be held responsible for those damages. And this is why it is, very important that we look at this. So these are some of the things that you can do, okay, to protect your properties, your rental properties, from bad tenants. And these are some of the things you need to do. So I'll go over some of the points. Some people are just joining. Welcome. Thank you, ma. Thank you, Madam Jimmy, for joining. So I'm just going to go over the points again. So the first thing you should do, okay, if you are buying to avoid cases of bad tenants, is that put all your rental properties under the control of a lawyer. Now, when a lawyer is involved, okay, some people are aware that there are some things you will do that you obviously cannot get away with under the the frame of the law. So the lawyer will be in charge of sourcing for tenants. The lawyer will be in charge of providing the tenancy fee and a tenancy law form, rather I said fee. And most of those forms will demand a case of 2 or 3 guarantors. In a case whereby there are damages and the tenant is nowhere to be found, the guarantors will definitely be held responsible. So the lawyer will also see to collection of rents, and whenever there is a need for compulsory, okay, ejection of a turbulent or a stubborn or a destructive tenant, you don't need to lift a finger. The lawyer will definitely get all the necessary court injunction, and the eviction will be carried out. And I gave instances of what I've seen law firms like DJ Taiwo, what they've done. So if you are in the categories of people who are very reluctant to buy rental properties because of situations like you obviously don't know, apologies for this, what you obviously don't know in situations like this. So one of the things you can do basically is to ensure um, All right, how about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Right. Okay, I think I'm back on now. These are some of the things, these are some of the challenges we have. I think I found out what the issue is. All right. All right. Okay. Let me know if you can still hear me. Let me know if you can still hear me. I'm back on. Thank you very much. All right. So one of the things that has been a major concern. I apologize for that. I think it's probably our network here in Nigeria. It's very, very challenging, but it's okay. Now, when people don't give their properties to facility management company and they have these cases of property damaged. Now, I've had instances whereby one of the major reasons why a lot of people today are having dilapidated building, okay, where their properties are poorly managed is that what it takes a facility manager to, because you see, one of the major duties of the facility management manager is to do what we call a normal routine check in order to ascertain, okay, if there are major repairs. You see, there are some repairs, okay, that if you attend to them at the initial stage, okay, these repairs help you to minimize the cost of a major damage on your properties. Now, the reason why most of these things are happening basically is that most of the people that most of these property owners, okay, put in charge as caretakers, most times majority of them don't even go there. So what they do basically is that they give information based on what they hear from tenants that are owning that house. And basically these are some of the things that are one of the reasons why we have most properties that are poorly managed. But if you have a facility manager, basically what they will do basically is that they run a routine check. Now, it's very sad because most investors or most property owners don't even see a need for facility management company, because you see, a tenant will do a small roof leakage that may not be above 20,000, and he will tell you he spent millions. Now, if you have a good facility management company, they take account of the cost of maintenance. They give you the actual value of the cost of maintenance, because I've seen instances whereby some tenants will come to you and they say they have spent these hundreds of millions, I've spent these hundreds of thousands on this property. So because I've done this repair, you are going to deduct this amount of money, okay, from my rent because of that. And sometimes I've come to realize, okay, that most of them infiltrate, figures they claim to have spent on, most of the repairs. And but you have, if you have a good a good management company, they will be, in a better position to ensure that the information that you are being given is very, very accurate. So these are some of the things that it is very important. So when you get a good management company, okay, to maintain your property, you will protect it. So in the case of management, okay, these companies will even go as far to make recommendation on how your tenants are using your properties. And I've seen instances of some of the houses in Sonia that is being managed by a facility management company, and these people gave recommendations that some of the tenants that are in the house needs to be evicted because they are contributing majorly, to the major damages of the house. So you should also look at that. And one of the reasons that you can also avoid bad tenants, okay, is to invest more on service project in Lagos. Like for instance, if you want to buy, okay, you can buy from a developer that is doing most service. Now, one of the reasons why I I love serviced apartment basically is that majority of the serviced apartments that we have in Lagos, the landlords don't even get to lift a finger. However, it comes with a cost. We really need to explain this so that we can have an accurate, understanding of this. Now, for instance, there are houses that they will say service charge for 1 year is 1.5 million. Some will say 2 million. Now, a lot of people will shout, "Ha! Why am I paying that much, okay, on services? Isn't that too outrageous?" Now, there was a scenario of something that happened recently. I'll be going into the stories much more later as this video progresses. But now, if you look at the cost of the services, you will notice that these guys are providing electricity, they are providing water supply, they are in charge of waste management, and they are doing some couple of things. Now, you see, the services that is being provided by these guys, if it is regular and it is done in accordance to the service charge agreement, you notice that regular periodic service management of a apartment will increase the durability and prevent unnecessarily damage on your properties. Now, there's a developer I'm working with in the primary school axis. This woman, after she has sold the property to you, she'll be the one to handle your rent. She'll be the one to, if there's a need to eject the client or the tenant, she'll be the one to do that. So basically, that's the advantage. So investing in service apartments, the moment, in fact, one basic thing that I love about service apartment is that if you are poor, you can't afford it. And there are some apartments that is not built for poor people. I have to just say this. Not like I'm trying to commonize or undermine people, but you see, if you have dealt with people in Lagos, you understand that some people don't even deserve to stay among people. Some people have this animalistic and insane attitudes. In fact, I gave instances of a man that was able to, secure, a court injunction to eject a bad tenant. And when the tenant was leaving, the man damaged some part of the house, and the landlord will have to spend, so much just to make sure that the house is fixed. And this would have been, avoided if you are buying, ensure that you're buying from a developer that has the intention to service, because you see, once there is regular service in that house, it will protect and preserve that house for a very long time. Now, one of the reasons why I hate self-service apartment basically is due to the fact that if you are a landlord and you want to reside in that house, you can afford to do a self-service apartment. You can, because you be at, in the house, and you might probably be monitoring what is going on, and you can oversee the property by yourself. But if you are based in diaspora, I will advise, okay, that you do what? You give it to either a facility manager or you buy a service apartment. However, if you are building your house, don't build it with the intention, okay, that you want to rent it out. Build with the intention that you are covering most of the service. And the advantage of you building with the intention of servicing it on behalf of your client is that, number one, it will preserve the durability and of course the aesthetic, because you see, it doesn't make actual sense if you are spending millions of naira on houses, and some people who never even understood how hard you work to raise your money will just use your property anyhow. And another thing basically is that if you are servicing the apartment, that means you are taking off a whole lot of things off your tenants. Like, for instance, if you are providing electricity, nobody will have to fight themselves over generator. Okay. And it has even become more easier right now that you don't even need generators. If you can get a good solar or inverter system, it will subsidize, okay, the consumption of diesel and the likes. But the most important thing basically is that when you are building your house, if you want to preserve that house for a longer period of time, ensure that you are managing the service. And what are the services you want? Even if you cannot guarantee 24 hours electricity, ensure that you are in charge of refuse disposal, you are in charge of security, and you are in charge of your facility management. Now, the reason why you should be in charge of facility management basically is due to the fact that by the time you've been able to do some repairs, you'll be able to tell the kind of people that you have as tenants on your property. Some people are very, very terrible, and I'm so sorry to say this, but some people are just wicked. They they are not they are not what to be called human beings. So if you are building, then you should build basically to do what? are serviced. Then the final point I give basically is that if you cannot do some of these things I've outlined, then I will advise. This is my advice. Just buy shortlets. Invest majorly in shortlets. Now, the reason why I'm saying you should invest in shortlet basically is that I think I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to say it again. The rental market in Lagos is going to a situation, or it will get to a time whereby 60% of all rental properties in Lagos will be converted to shortlet. And I'm going to give several instances. I remember when I was in the Yaba axis, then I was in University of Lagos, so I had to stay somewhere close. We were renting one bedroom apartment as at that time. That was around um 2014, 2015. It's a long time ago. We're renting one bedroom apartment as at that time for 950,000 then. And despite the fact, of course, I was not the only one. We were like, well, of course, it's guys, so we just came together. We are co-sharing the apartment. Some people use the the room. Some people have access to this, but we were able to come together and live. And while I was there, our landlord at that time was increasing the rent every year, and got so good. I got a good employment, and I had to leave Yaba, move down to the highland. 4 years later, I'm telling you what is happening. I'm giving an actual fact. 4 years later, some of my friends that was still in that house called me and said the landlord has given them a quit notice. And I was like, quit notice. Did you guys do anything? Was there? He said, no, they didn't do anything. That a developer came with an offer the man cannot refuse. And he just have to tell them to leave the house because that, in fact, the saddest part of it is that some people just renewed their rent. He returned some of the rents that were paid. And to cut the long story short, the house was bought, it was demolished, and rebuilt into several flats because what the man had was like a face man face you kind of apartment then. And so, of course, so when the man built, so information later got to me, and I found out that the developer that built offered to give the man multiple units of of apartments under, I think, 18 under an 18 years lease. So the developer got money, he got apartments that he will also be making rent. So as at that time, it was we were paying 950. By the time they were done, when they rebuilt, okay, that house is, the man was renting his own one of the bedroom after, because you know it's a new structure. It was newly constructed. The man was renting one self con room and parlor self con, not even room. It's not, no, it's not even room and parlor. It's just a room self con. He was renting it for 1.5 million. That was times two of what we were paying, and he still got money. And what now later fascinated me basically is that I never knew that that area, because you see, what is happening in Lagos is that a lot of people are bringing in a lot of innovative creativity into the industry. And the era of annual rent, as I'm talking to you right now, is gradually phasing off. What you must do, basically, if you have the intention of retiring home or spending most of your time in Nigeria, is that you have to start making plans to get your own apartment before things will get way off hand. Presently, right now, I have an investor who wants to buy. He has instructed us to put his normal rental apartment for sale. As I'm talking to you right now, we have been receiving offers. We are just waiting for our lawyers to review and probably go for the best. Now, the man that is selling his apartment right now is selling it with the intention of investing in shortlets. Now, what is happening in the shortlet market basically is that what you wait in a year as a landlord collecting rent in a year, you might make it in 2 months running shortlets. So I'm telling you the reason why shortlet is changing the game. Now, apart from the fact that if you run a shortlet is more like is a short stay. You have the opportunity to oversee what is going on in your apartment. You have the opportunity to see, okay, where how your apartment is being used. You can make the necessary corrections and you can slap the necessary, penalties in the case of damage and the likes. Now, I'm telling you why shortlet is very, very lucrative. Now, so that means that what I will wait to earn in a year, I can earn in a month or two running shortlet. Why on earth will I want to do annual rental? Now, to cap it all off, at the last 30 December, in the Yaba alone, most of the shortlets were booked out. A lot of people used to say Nigeria has challenges, the security problem. When I looked at the occupancy rates, if I should tell you that most shortlets were fully booked as at October 20th, fully booked. There are people who booked who make payments in advance. These are diasporans that were coming. Most of the shortlets were booked mid-October, fully booked for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 month. People had the intention to book, so it was fully booked. So the man just said, "Why am I going to wait for till the end of the year when in less than 2, 3, 6 months I can make your rent make more and even still enjoy some of these benefits to themselves?" So what is happening right now basically is that because of the fact that shortlet gives fast return, it guarantees whether weekly or annual income, and for the fact that I won't have to go to court, I won't have to have issues with tenants. Why do I need to do annual rentals when I can do shortlet and make my money in the shortest time? So the challenge basically right now is that most of the new people that are building in the Surulere, Yaba, Victoria Island, new developers are building strictly for shortlets. Now, what will now become the consequences of this? You see, because of the fact that shortlet is gradually becoming a preference for both developers, investors, and even tourists, what will happen now is that if you don't own your own rental properties, may you not come back to your hometown or your Lagos or your country and you are paying 100,000 for just a night. That is what is happening. So we have seen this, we have projected this, and we can tell you what will happen in the next 2 years. So one of the ways you can avoid bad tenants is just invest in short. So the man just told me, he said, Daddy, don't worry. I want to do I want to invest in 3 shortlet apartments. He says, if I have multiple shortlet apartments, I can now say, okay, let me just go to whether Ikeja or Magodo, get a sophisticated house, and I'll retire there. So these are the strategies, okay, that is being used by some of these landlords to build. And if you don't pay adequate attention, you see, when we're talking about, well, if you have been following my timeline, you notice that I have been promoting more of shortlets than your regular kind of apartment. And if I'm promoting regular apartment, I'm always promoting serviced apartment because in this industry, I can tell what will become a particular real estate investment if the management structures are not well planned. So these are some of the things that you need to do if you want to avoid bad tenants. Now, your refusal, okay, not to probably, I would say, refusals not to give a lawyer or a facility management company are what causes, and are what causes some of the major challenges and the damages. And the annoying thing basically is that the amount of money that you will spend, okay, to address this will be times 3 of what these people would have charged you just to ensure that everything is properly done and adequately managed. So these are some of the things that you need to do. And if you have questions, basically, because the reason why I have to just discuss this today is that I have 5 properties that diaspora investors just want to get rid. And what is their major challenge? Tenants not paying rent. In fact, the one that shocked me basically is that they told me that the man has been living in their house for close to 7 years and he only paid rent twice. You know, the Nigerian legal system can be so bad that if they're able to bribe their way, you might be deprived access into your own house. There was a case of um, a house that is not far from our office. I know this particular guy very well, this particular caretaker managing that property. Now, the man called me basically, he was saying he had a major concern, wanted to see me. So we spoke. I said, Mr. T, what happened? He told me that, can I believe that this particular tenant they have, because it's a one bedroom room and parlor, self-contained, that when this guy realized that his rent is like almost 2 years to expire, like he has just 2 years left on his rent before it will expire. They said this guy just woke up on a fateful day, okay, locked up the house, and it was nowhere to be found. 1 month after his rent has expired, they didn't see him. Second month after his rent has expired, they didn't see him. Third month, 4 month, going to 6 months. So he called me and said, what should he do? I said, fine. All his contacts were not going through. So I just found out basically that it was more or less like a deliberate attempt to teach the landlord the lesson. And do we have people who do this deliberately? I can tell you, yes, they are they are devilish people who have this mind just to say, I will show this landlord shaggy. So, and under the law, you cannot enter the house except the tenant is around, because if you should do a forced entry into the house, he might come to claim damages of what is not in the house, and it becomes a legal tussle that may not favor the house owner. So I told him that what you should do basically is that you should inform the nearest police station, get an authorization from the police, and they take it to the courts. Now, once they take it to the courts, they'll get an injunction, okay, and they will, if there is no way of getting across, because according to them, they were unable to reach the guy. So I think what he did was deliberate. It was just like maybe he was trying to get back to the landlord or something. I don't know. His whereabouts were unknown. All his contacts were